Hello and welcome to our channel, Get Modern, with me, Andy Jones, and my friend and colleague here, Dean Ellaby. As part of a new or first set of series of videos we're going to be running, a number of bite-sized sessions where we kind of look at some quick insights and demonstrations related to modern desktop management. The first of which today we're going to pick on the settings catalog, which is in preview in Intune. I'm going to give a demonstration, a bit of background to that. Before we get started though, just a quick ask or question to Dean. Dean, what's your insight? What's your thoughts and experiences with configuration profiles and all that in the past? What can you give from your experience?
So configuration profiles were the basic sort of way you would applying configuration to a device, weren't they originally? And they were as opposed to a compliance policy where you would check to see whether a device was configured the way you kind of wanted it and look at the compliance of it. I think that the thing that annoys me the most about configuration profiles is there's so many different ways to apply a setting. So you can do it in a config profile for iOS or Android or Windows or Mac, and then you might find the same setting somewhere else. You might find it in a baseline or a template or in anywhere else. You might in the security settings, for instance, that you can find them in there as well. So you might find that you turn a setting off in one area and then you turn it on in another area, and that's just really annoying because you have to then go through all the different ways you can set something to see if it's actually set. So I mean that's only come about since they made it since they opened up these new ways of applying these settings. So yeah, I mean, I don't know if the
Yeah.
settings catalog thing you're going to talk about next will help that at all. I genuinely haven't looked at settings catalog at all since I knew we'd be doing something like
Yeah.
this. Yeah, does it?
Yeah. So so sure. So what is settings catalog about? Well, it's new, and as you rightly say, in the past, I'm sure there's a lot of admin people out there that will have recognised what you've just said. In the it can be a bit complicated. Not just because there are different points at which you can make those changes, but it's kind of remembering and labeling your profiles and your settings in a way that is easy to understand, because you might be an admin but you might pass your platform on to someone else, so it's got to be intuitive in a way and easily managed. So I think, from playing around with it myself, it's kind of it's this one example really where, as they add more and more functionality, they're looking to adapt the platform. They're looking to change the structure on which you navigate through, setting and monitoring and reporting against the settings that you've got, and making it more kind of more personal to your admin configuration that you've got. So I actually think this is a really step forward. I've played around and worked on Intune for quite a bit, and I actually think it will help me and make things a bit quicker. So that's the kind of premise of it, really. As you say rightly, before you might take different configuration templates. You might go for administrative template, or you might do device restrictions. If you don't find what you need in there, then you might go a custom route, a custom CSP route. They have obviously injected the ADMX settings in, but they can be quite fiddly to work with. I think you need to know what you're doing, or at least find another website where you go and find all the settings and that you need, because it's not it's not very wizardy,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
so
yeah.
um, so what have they done? So this new change really applies. There's about 2,000 odd settings. I think initially, no doubt they will bring more over as they kind of migrate the ADMX stuff and maybe the custom stuff as well. And it applies so far to Windows 10 and Mac OS. Mac OS is only at the moment you can only make settings for Explorer, Internet Explorer. So that's the kind of starting point for it. And like I said, it's in preview. So there's a few fiddly things which, you know, functionality you won't get. So for example, you won't get the current status of the deployment of those while it's in preview. Until it goes general release, you won't get the full functionality of it. So, but I've tested it. I've tested a few settings. Seems to work. Seems to work quite well actually. And I think the I've kind of my highlights, if you like, I kind of did write down a few highlights that I think are quite key takeaways really from this. And basically the group settings, it allows you, you know, to group settings across the different profiles. So you make a collection which is more structured to your own personal deployment. And then obviously you only pick the settings you want. So whereas before you picked a template and you might have to go through the full list of settings available and only pick one or two that is relevant. Now you can pick the individual settings. So
yes. So when you do that, the baseline, the security baseline thing, you see all of them. Even if you just want to configure one, every single one's listed on the screen, and you've got to leave them not configured, and then find the one you want to configure. And that could be better, couldn't it?
Yeah, it could. I mean, no doubt, you know, once you become more and more familiar with it, then you kind of know where you're going, I guess, and you know which setting. But actually, one thing I'm not entirely sure of is with the device, say, a device restrictions template. If I change that, does it reapply the whole settings in the template? I'm not entirely sure. I'll have to look into that. But one of the other areas is that, so on the actual settings themselves, whereas before it was a little bit unambiguous with kind of in knowing what you're actually setting that setting to, and depending on the, you know, you get a description pretty much on every setting, but it still left me at least wondering, am I you know setting this right? Now that what they've done, on some at least of the settings, they kind of giving value descriptions, so it's quite self-explanatory and easy to understand in whether, you know, what you're setting this setting to. I'll show you an example of that when I do the demo.
I'm not quite following, but yeah, that sounds good.
Yeah, okay. They've changed around the reporting structure a bit and the status of the deployment of the settings, which I think is quite good. And you know, the also I think the other key point to highlight is that they now give you a kind of search facility. So because it's a whole catalog, right, and that catalog is going to get bigger, what you need to be able to do is kind of filter down on the settings that you're looking for, rather than go through the full list. So I think that's a good step forward as well.
Yeah, but it's called a catalog, isn't it? So I mean, I think that, remember when Argos had a catalog and you used to have to go in and search through the catalog, literally search through it physically, opening pages. And it's much easier now. They've got those little terminals. You can just type the thing in. It's much easier in it. So maybe that's where they got the idea from. This.
Maybe.
Yeah. All right.
Who knows? Right. Do you want to switch over to
your screen?
Screen. Yeah, if you can do that.
There you go.
I'll give a quick demo. Okay, so we're in the Endpoint Manager Admin Center at endpoint.microsoft.com. This is a test tenant I've got. And basically, if you navigate through devices, have a look at, select the configuration profiles. And now when you click the create profile, you'll see you pick your platform. So I'll go Windows 10, and on that you can either get the settings catalog preview or templates. Okay, if I select Mac OS, you got the same. But if I select Android, for example, you haven't got the settings catalog as such at the moment. I'm sure that that will change, but that's where it is in preview at the moment. I do have a one in true Blue Peter style. I've got one I created earlier, so I'll go into that. Now in here, I've got a few settings that I've created, but initially what I'll do is I'll go into edit mode and I'll add. So if you're starting afresh, all you would do is start creating your new profile and then basically hit the add settings.
Can we
And
search
in
for
here,
Edge? Can we search for Edge? I'm
yeah,
interested in.
yeah,
Oh,
rocket
Edge
spell,
feet.
yeah, yeah. So if I
Cool.
look
Yeah,
at
yeah.
browser, so it'll give you your results of all your settings. But what I can do, what you can do is then do a filter. So if you wanted to change that to just equal to Windows Professional, for example, apply that filter.
And then browser,
There's
browser category again.
yeah.
Yeah,
So it
yeah,
will
cool.
tell you what's relevant. And the good thing is, collectively, before you might have seen all of these in a template somewhere, and you might only want to select one of them. So you can still select all of them here, or you can individually just select one of them. I select one of them, and it'll automatically populate that in your previous pane.
Right.
So you don't need to commit anything here. You just select what you want, close down that pane, and then it's added. Okay, and then it will give you the various options that are available to that setting.
Nice.
For now, but yeah, what do you think? What do you think of that?
Well, it is like a catalog, isn't it? I hadn't seen it, so it is pretty good, and it's almost like they've made a visual searching feature for group policy, really, because that's what, you know, that there's some really specific settings in there, like the configure edge open width um, is a very specific thing, and you wouldn't be able to put that in a device feature policy or a profile or a device restriction thing, would you? So it looks like it is just taken from GPO, isn't it? I can see what you're
Yeah,
saying
I think so.
about the value descriptions now, though. That require private store only was always one of those double negative things that made me
Yeah,
think a few times about whether I was actually choosing the right thing. And I assume if you toggle that
yeah,
off, it'll change that to allow
yeah.
both public and private.
So
And
that's
then
more
yeah,
descriptive, right? It's off, allow public and private, and
yeah,
it's
yeah.
you kind of know what you're getting.
It always seemed that the names were a little bit rushed when they were making picking a name for the setting.
Mm,
Just
yeah,
just call it private store, and then is it blocked or enabled or enforced? There's not enough detail to make a decision unless you've actually tested it. So that's really good. I like that.
yeah. I mean, I've noticed, and again, obviously, we are in preview, so I don't know how much will change. So lots can change, right? But not all of these are as descriptive. Allow block. But I mean, that's. I guess it's pretty self-explanatory. Allow
Well,
or block,
yeah,
really.
it is. But I mean, as I say, it looks like it's been done in a rush because allow date time should be yes or no rather than because that's the thing. The allow is the thing that we're gonna do. Not and yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
It's they're obviously making improvements with it, but there must be so many settings to go through
Mm.
and update. So yeah, but it's good. It is really
Well,
good. I
when
like
you
that.
compare this to like a custom setting, you know, I think the user interface is a lot better,
Yeah,
um, and and also you haven't got to search all those various settings on different websites. So I think it's a big step forward. But going back to that, so I added that setting there. If you want to just minus that, it will remove it. And basically anything that you add onto your list here or anything that you then remove, all that is effectively saying is you're going with the default setting that you get with a Windows
Yeah.
10 device,
Yeah.
effectively. So you know where you stand. It's only when you make a change. And actually, I hadn't thought, but clearly in the white, that's your default, and in the blue is where you're changing it, right?
Yeah. 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 What do you mean you hadn't
Right.
thought? Yeah, that's
I hadn't. I mean, they're stupid, but I hadn't thought. I'm a simple person.
all right. All right.
So let's quickly do a test, okay? One just to highlight one thing I've noticed that is when you do pick, say, just a few settings here, it seems to be quite quick as well.
All right.
Um, I mean, live demos always are there to test you, right? But I've got this actual device that I'm on, okay, is managed.
Okay.
And
You're actually going to
let's
test
go.
this now. You're going to apply that policy to this machine.
Yeah,
We
you're not with me on this, are you? But
no, not in the time
bear
we've
with
got.
me, bear
All
with
right.
me.
All right. All right.
I might blow your mind. You never know. So at the moment, we can go into date and time, where we can do the various changes. The same for the region and the language. I can go to add a language to this device. What I'm going to do is switch these to block and see how quickly it will apply. Okay,
All
I've
right.
already created this profile, so that the group is assigned. So
All right.
I just need to save it.
I mean, we should
I
probably
go,
remind you. Well, I should remind you that we're trying to keep this to less than 20 minutes for the bite size,
yeah,
meaning to have any effect. So
yeah.
yeah, I'd be interested if you can get that to apply in the next 3 minutes and 10 seconds. But there you
Right.
go.
So I'll
Fine,
do a sync.
but that looks really good. I think that's a as I said, I hadn't looked at it before, and now I think it'll improve how you make changes on devices.
Mm-hmm. Let's have a look. Has it done it yet?
I can't imagine it's going to do it this week. Well, my
Really?
experience of Intune of Intune policy coming down, it's not, it doesn't take a week, does it? But I would give it
No.
at least 10, 15 minutes.
No, it's done.
You are kidding.
There you go. Date and time, region, language. So you now see some of these settings are hidden or managed by your organization. I can't add a new language onto this device. So
That's
yeah,
good.
they've applied.
That is good. All right.
Yeah. No, I don't know. Clearly, there's only a few settings there. The more you add, the longer it's going to take. And we've synced that. So if you don't sync your device either through the portal or through company portal, then it could potentially wait for your 8 hours before it cycles around and checks back into Intune. But just by doing I think that's positive at this stage anyway for me.
No, yeah,
Uh,
that's really good.
yeah.
No, well, thanks very much. That's really good. Is that your demo done?
Just I did mention the report. Okay, so
Okay.
on the page here, you've got the slightly different reporting status of the deployment for those settings. This is different to what you had previously. If I drill down and look at the report, it will give you the devices and the status there, the overall status. But then I can go down further and look at the individual settings. So as it says, that says there, the three that we looked at on my device are compliant. These two are not applicable, which doesn't mean there's a problem. It means there's obviously some other setting applied, which means that these aren't applicable at this stage. So this is just a demo and test tenant. So I'd have to look into that. But yeah, so you can drill down further. Actually, if I look into that, yeah, it doesn't give you a great deal more information, which other than that. But I guess if there was an error, it would give you the error code potentially there as well.
Well, it at least gives you the source profile so you can figure out where that's being set. I guess. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's really good. I like that.
So yeah, that's just as my summary really. I think if they are able to collectively bring the majority and no doubt what they're trying to do is create a comparable list or catalog of settings that compare against GPOs out there. I doubt very much that they'll. I mean, GPOs, there's thousands of them, right?
Mm.
I doubt they'll ever get to that stage, or they'll even want to migrate all of them. But I think just by bringing this out, there's this kind of statement to say, okay, we're recognizing we need to introduce a new way of managing these settings. This is the way we're going to do it, and make it more user friendly.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
really good. Oh, thanks very much.
yeah,
I'm impressed that your live demo off the cuff worked well. Well done.
yeah,
So we should mention that today's the day Ignite starts. That's being recorded on the 2nd of March. And yeah, Ignite starts in a few hours, so I'm going to be looking through all those videos and getting my schedule started pretty soon. So that should be fun.
yeah,
But yeah, we're going to try and do a few more of these bite-sized videos, just kind of showcase various stuff that we see from Ignite. Really, I think that's going to be topical for a little while, isn't it?
oh yeah, oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. I'll be watching.
Good.
I did put out on my blog a kind of schedule, my backpack. There are at least a dozen sessions specifically dedicated to kind of the Windows 10 and device management out there. So yeah, I think they're all
Good.
relevant and something we can bring up in future videos.
Yeah, definitely. Well, we'll put the link to your blog in the description of the video.
Yeah,
But I think is that it for now?
yeah, that's it for now.
Brilliant. If you've enjoyed, like and subscribe. Thank you very much. See you next time.
Yeah, thanks very much. Cheers.